Hi, everyone, and welcome to another WNEP Sports Spotlight. I am Newswatch 16 Sports Director Steve Lloyd, and we are talking a little high school baseball. We'll get into the Major League and some of the new nuances with that, but we're joined here by three outstanding high school baseball coaches. Eric Lentz from Wallenpaupack. We have Brian Jardine, the head coach at North Pocono, and we have Brian Minnick, the head coach of the West Scranton Invaders. All guys in the Lackawanna League. Guys, first off, thanks for coming in here on an early Tuesday morning here in the month of July. Eric, we'll start with you.
Not much going on at Paupack. A lot of them are doing their travel thing. I'm running some camps up there at the high school and middle school fields. And then I'm doing a lot of training down at Baseball U right now. That's about it.
Brian, I know you were just out on some vacation with the family. Certainly that's a time to kind of get away. But what has your summer entailed baseball-wise?
Baseball, it's funny. This is the time of year where baseball would probably be prominent most, and instead it's kind of an off time for the high school guys with so many kids playing travel. You have the multi-sport kids, which is a great thing. So they're involved with basketball and football where they can. Every now and again, we'll hit a little bit, get up the field, and get some swings. A couple of guys that are returning for me. But, it's odd where this is kind of the downtime. The weather's finally where you want it to be as opposed to 35 degrees in March, and it's kind of our downtime, really. Always things to do. I'm looking at, matter of fact, yesterday I was looking at schedules and different things. So a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, I guess, more so than on-the-field action.
Brian, I know you just had a little vacation, but you're constantly busy training the kids, having your camps and lessons and all that. What's going on in your summertime?
Well, currently with our guys, we've been, they just finished up their Legion and their Babe Ruth season. It's kind of been like, just watching them play from a different view, taking notes, seeing what we're going to start working on coming the fall to get them better. I mean, we're in the same boat. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes. Most of my guys are actually golfers, and they have a pretty good golf team at West Scranton. And so I'll lose most of them because you don't want to be golf swinging and baseball swinging. But, they really turned that program around. So I kind of let them go. Basically right now we're just coming up with plans and where we want to try stuff and, get ready to open up. And we usually start about November with the weights and conditioning and everything. So it's kind of a little downtime, nice relax, get to see the boys in a different view, and they get to see the coaches a little bit more, personal and everything like that. So I like this time of the year, but as always, we're ready to get back to work with them.
Brian, we'll stay with you. What does it mean to have two kids from the Lackawanna League in Major League Baseball right now, with Jake McCarthy playing for the Rockies and then Max Kranick coming back and the Nationals picking him up, and he's coming out of the bullpen? When you talk to kids about baseball and what it takes to be the best, do you kind of use those two kids as an example for the kids now?
Oh, absolutely. I was lucky enough that I got to coach Kranick when he was younger doing travel ball. He's actually my neighbor. He only lives right around the corner from me, so that's nice. My family, with my father, with the McCarthy relationship that he had going with the father back to Scranton Central. So it's nice to see kids like that, and plus knowing both young men personally, they're the great kids, and great to be around, just nice kids. So when you see guys like that, especially it was cool to watch it the other night when they squared off against each other. But just as a Lackawanna leaguer, you could just say, hey, there's two right there, guys. Each year it seems like we're getting more and more in the big league system. So it's definitely a motivational tool, without a doubt.
Brian, obviously those two guys, we have a Zach McCambly from Pocono Mountain East, a right-handed pitcher with the Reds. There's obviously other guys on the horizon, but when you talk about McCarthy and Kranick, that seems like the two guys people are talking about right now.
Yeah, correct. Even Mason Black, he was up and down this year with Kansas City from Valley View. But, yeah, those are the two guys who I think have kind of found their way, and it looks like, they have bright futures ahead of them a little bit. As Brian just alluded to, I think that matchup the other day was pretty special, where you see two Lackawanna kids face each other. Max touched 99 on that last pitch to strike out Jake, so I think he had a little extra for him. But, yeah, it is, and it's a nice thing to say, like, look, that kid's just like you. He grew up down the block from where you did, or played, in our league just like you're doing now. So it is a nice motivational tool. And as Brian also mentioned, they're two great kids. If I reach out to either one of them, hey, can you send a message to one of my kids who's been injured, or they're more than willing to do it. So, that's the great thing. They're giving back, which is fantastic. But again, the big thing as far as a coach here in the Lackawanna League, you can point to those and many others, as you just mentioned, say like, yeah, those are kids that I coach against, or guys like Jamie and Coach Munley actually coach, and it's really a nice little tip of the cap to the Lackawanna League and the competition that we see year in, year out, but also just knowing that's a kid just like you, and they put the work in and look at the rewards.
Eric, we'll have you chime in here. You look at Jake. He gets traded from the Diamondbacks to the Rockies. Every kid's looking for an opportunity. He finally gets a chance to play a little bit more and really hitting over 300. Kind of right there on maybe being an all-star, but he's having a great season. Mac's back, and he looks like he's kind of back into form again.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I saw you posted something previous around the All-Star break that McCarthy was deserving of it, and I agree. I'm glad to see that, the change of scenery is kind of almost like a stepping stone in his career at this point. I don't know Max very well, but, I've played against him, coached against him, and he was always a class act. And I've got to interact with Jake a little bit. I'll see him at the Baseball U Academy when he's home. He's always, polite, and I had him take pictures with my nephew and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see these guys run with their role, and then also, as the other coaches mentioned, having them be Lackawanna League guys, it is neat to see and say, hey, these guys were in the same spot you guys were at one time, and there's a chance for everybody if you're willing to put the time and the work in, and and see what happens.
Let's talk about the season a little bit up at Wallenpaupack. You guys lost to Dallas 2-1 in the 5A semifinals. An outstanding season. You go 15-6. Cade Pittenger hit 354 for you guys, and then you got a lot of great innings from Cameron Lynch. You talked to me out in the lobby when you came in, a lot of juniors and seniors,
Yep.
And you were very thrilled at the effort and the games that these kids played. It's going to be tough to replace them. You got work cut out for you, but talk about the great season that you had.
So we definitely got our work cut out. Lynch was lights out. I think he ended up 5-3. Could have easily been 8-0. I mean, who loses a game 2-1 and you give up 2 solo home runs to lose that game? I can't think of any other instance where that happened. But we're gonna miss him. Kerstead, Caruso, Doty, all were lights out on the mound. As a team, we were under a 2.0 ERA. And then I'm excited to have Pittenger back. He'll be a senior. He'll be my leadoff guy again, playing center field. And then we have a couple other juniors now heading into their senior year, like my catcher J.J. Blom and Mason Miller and some other guys that'll be coming back from injury and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work to do. There's potential there. It's just a matter of what we do with it.
Brian, for you guys, you lost 7-0 to Abington, the 5A first round. Pittston went on to win the district championship. Coach Zafuto down there. Another Ruddy who hit 403, Connor Ruddy, 27 hits for Connor. And I know you're really connected with the Bill Howerton strikeout cancer stuff that you do there. But, talk about the season you had and talk about Connor and him hitting 403.
Yeah, we hit a spot there. We had some injuries. Arms that we were counting on, and that's part of baseball. They went down, and we were at 5-10 at one point, and it was just a matter of finding our footing as we're trying to go through and navigate and figure out who's that next guy up, and we found out who was ready to compete and put people in the right places. So kids really responded to that. You mentioned Connor already, who had a great year as a leadoff hitter, and he was only a sophomore, so we have 2 more years with Connor. Dylan Hunter was a kid who, God bless him, did everything. Our catcher was banged up. He caught. He played second base, probably his natural position. We needed a shortstop. He played short. By the end of the year, he started the playoff game up at Abington Heights as our pitcher. So he did a little bit of everything, so it was great to have him. And then just, a lot of these younger guys just like I mentioned before, finding their footing and realizing, okay, this is the speed of the game. And you saw it with kids like Jameson Gasser, who was a sophomore catcher. It took him a little bit, but once he figured it out, he's really going to be a special player for us as well. And, there's names I'm sure I'm forgetting right now. But all in all, proud of the kids, proud of the effort that they put in throughout the year. Kind of did it to ourselves. We ended up beating Abington, which cost them a chance at the overall league title, and it dropped them down to the 4th seed. And Nick Bradley was waiting for us that first round of the playoffs, and we're gonna go out and compete every time. So those things happen. But looking forward to next year. I was ready. We mentioned a little bit about what we're doing. We'll start to gear that up in probably September with some fall stuff, and be ready to go next year. But proud of the kids, proud of my seniors. The way like I said, when you're 5 and 10, it can really go south fast, and they didn't allow it to happen. So all in all, be proud of the kids, proud of the program, and looking forward to already 2027. Hard to believe I'm saying that. Yeah.
Talk about the Bill Howerton Strikeout Cancer Foundation that's been established. You seem to be the chairperson for that, and it's really kind of involved everybody in the league, players, coaches, families and stuff. And obviously raising money for cancer.
It's a special thing to watch how that has grown. We started, it was Jamie Shefchik and I, the coach up at Keystone College, who I coached for Howie. I was his assistant for 2 years at the University of Scranton. And got to know him pretty well. Jamie, same deal. Jamie was starting up at Keystone. We got to know Howie sort of showed him the ropes a bit, so we had a connection there, and lost the guy way too early, and so we just wanted to honor him a little bit. We brought in Chris Shefchik, who no relation to Jamie, but that is Howie's nephew, and he sort of helped us put all this together, and it's to the point now where these guys will tell you we're at Media Day, and it's Bill Howerton Media Day, and every team has their own Howerton game where it's Lackawanna League softball and Lackawanna League baseball, and raise money. We just recently selected a scholarship winner from the foundation, so that's a little something for college there, and again, just we're promoting the game. One, we're honoring Bill. Secondly, and then as you mentioned, we're raising money to try and see what we can do to help fight a terrible disease.
Brian, let's talk about the West Scranton Invaders. Real tough game against Dallas in that first round. Tyler Scotch, 422, and pitched really, really well for you guys. Dallas, obviously a tough team. Talk about that district playoff game against them.
Well, I mean, we opened our season up with them in the beginning of the year. We lost 10-0, so to lose in the playoffs 5-3 just shows how much we improved as the season went along. I mean, Dallas was tough. They had 3 Division I players, and Zangardi hit 2 home runs against us, and that was the difference in that game. So, as like Coach Lynch, the home runs with Dallas kind of did us in too. But Tyler pitched a great game for us. I mean, he pitched well for us all year. He was probably the big inspiration for our kids, because little parts of his junior year looked like there was going to be something on the mound, but he just took off on the mound, and it showed offensively. I mean, him hitting over 400, that was the biggest surprise. That nobody was expecting that. So it was great, but it really helped us because we were young. We have a lot of guys returning, and we had a lot of guys that hit over 300, mostly because of him. Because hitting is contagious. When you had a guy who's going 3 for 4, 4 for 5 in games, it starts really changing the atmosphere on the bench, and guys want to get up there, and compete. So that was huge for us, but with us being young, and we're getting a nice class of freshmen come up that are probably, some of them are going to jump in and start right off the bat, in competition for starting jobs. I think our future looks very bright in West Scranton.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about where these guys grew up and some of the sports they played when they were 10, 11, 12 years old. Stay with us more with the Lackawanna League coaches here on the WNEP Sports Spotlight. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight. I am Newswatch 16 Sports Director Steve Lloyd. Joining us, Eric Lentz, Brian Jardine, Brian Minnick. Brian, we'll start with you over here. Talk about growing up, where you grew up, what sports you played, and your family a little bit.
Okay, well, I grew up in West Scranton, up in the Kaiser Valley area. And, I as a young kid, I just played baseball. I didn't get into any other sports till I was like in the middle school, then I started playing football and I wrestled. And growing up, baseball would probably be the last thing. Most people thought I was going to be a professional wrestler because that's how much I really loved that. I still enjoy it today, and it's probably the reason why I probably started wrestling at the high school level until I knew better. It was like, oh, okay, these are two different things. But for the longest time, wrestling was what I wanted to do. I mean, me and Coach Lentz actually coached for 5 years together as wrestling coaches. Yeah. How crazy it is. But as I got older, baseball just became. It just clicked for me. I started most of my life as a catcher. I didn't start pitching until I was about 14, 15, and then there was a big change happened. And, my family really supported me. My father was involved in athletics at Scranton Central and Scranton High. Well, he still is, actually. He's going, I think, in his 55th year. So, I always had a good resources, and, like, if I needed a little help or I needed somebody to talk to, or maybe just a little piece of gear or something, anything. Like, I always had good support from my parents, and it was never pushed. It was always because I wanted to do it. But so yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what we try to instill in our kids is, like, at West Scranton, you don't have to play one sport. Be a multi-sport athlete. A lot of our coaching staff are multi-sport athletes. You learn one sport makes you better by doing it, and the fact that you're competing all year round was the biggest thing, I thought, because by the time baseball season came in after playing football and wrestling, I mean, at that point, I'm in the greatest shape of my life. But, I mean, you're coming off a sport where you're competing one-on-one. Now you're playing with a team. Like, you think people say, oh, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing. Go out and wrestle another person with a spotlight on you at a packed gym. That's a little pressure there, too. So I think every sport builds into it. But, yeah, I mean, it was great. I had good family support, which took me to play. I played at Lackawanna Junior College at the time, and then I finished my career at Westchester University. So it was, I think football and wrestling had a very big part of where I became as a baseball player.
All right, now we turn to Brian Jardine. Brian, I think the first time you and I met down at the old Lackawanna County Stadium there, and you were in the clubhouse, a little clubhouse worker. But, talk about where you grew up, some of the sports you played, and how you made it into the Red Barons clubhouse.
Yeah, that part was kind of, all of it's kind of like just lessons you learn along the way and little obstacles that you have as you go through life, and just finding a path to what you want to do. And sports was something for me very, very early on. I grew up in Oliphant, went to Bishop O'Hara High School, three-sport. Actually, Brian, I actually wrestled a match, 0-1. I was told I was there for a forfeit. All you're going to do is raise my hand, and then next thing I know, someone else got on the scale, and the coach told me that's who you're going to wrestle. And he asked me what I knew. I said, I know, like, off the top rope stuff. He said, well, that's not going to work. But yeah, football, basketball, and baseball I played in high school. Sort of went with football and baseball my sophomore through senior year. And my family is a big part of that. I remember my dad was my Little League coach, and we couldn't wait for him to come home so we could play catch, those type of things. The kind of the American dream at that time where, that was the deal. That's what you want to do, play catch with dad. And that was kind of where I started my love for baseball. Again, same thing in football season. We threw the football around, whatever it might be, but had a love for sports, loved to compete. And that, took me through my my high school days, and had some success in high school, which was great, and allowed me or afforded me the opportunity to play in college. I went to Moravian College at Moravian University now, but Moravian College, and was able to play there for 4 years. So, it was great, and then it's over. Like I'm playing in college league, played against Brian in the college. I may have homered against him. Played in the college leagues, and you just want to stay around the game, and that's where kind of coaching came in, and that's I was working camps, and Jeremy Ruby and Richie Reft at the time, and Gary Ruby, I was working camps with them, and Richie was the clubhouse manager in the visitors clubhouse, and he asked, hey, if you're not doing anything, I was going back to school. Actually, I had my business management degree from Moravian. I was going back for my certificate to teach, and I needed money wherever I can get it, and he used to come on down to the clubhouse, and it was an experience. I probably learned as much there as I did in 4 years of college, going through classes. Just how the dynamic of people works at that point. But yeah, it was a great experience for me, and you know, I carry a lot of those lessons into the way I not only coach but also teach and try to work with youngsters now. But yeah, so kind of a neat little journey I've been on. Like I said, family's a big part of that. Still is. You know, my mom and dad still go to my games. My sisters, I have one in Las Vegas. My other sister lives in New Jersey, and they still check in. And my nieces and nephews and my own daughters are participating in different sports. So it's good that they're all involved. You know, so I can't forget my wife, because I wouldn't be coaching without her. She's probably the most supportive I have. But yeah, families, usually if you see that dynamic where someone's involved and someone's having success in anything, family's going to be a big reason for that, and I was fortunate enough to have that.
What year did you just wrap up at North Pocono as head coach?
Let's see, 17.
Okay.
17. I don't know how the COVID season fits in, but yeah, I think
doesn't count.
Yeah, okay. So maybe it's 16 going on 17. I'd have to do the math on that one, but yeah, been there longer than I thought. You know, and I just gave that answer. I thought I was wow, yeah, that's a little longer than I thought, but hopefully got a couple more left in me.
Eric, talk about you know, where you grew up, where you were born, raised, and what sports you played.
I grew up in Hazleton, home of Joe Madden. Spent a lot of time, you know, riding bikes, playing pickup basketball, football, baseball, and name it. Baseball was my true passion. I think I played freshman basketball, but that was about the extent of that. But spent most of my time playing baseball. Had a decent high school career. After high school, I went to ESU. Wasn't sure if I was going to play. I decided not to play my freshman year. Then I was like, you know what? Sophomore year was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll go out. Walked on. So I got the college experience. I didn't play it, you know, and have a 4-year college career, but it was something I would never trade. Just the experience, the friendships, and all that stuff that was made along the way. But a lot of that comes back to what Brian and Brian also said about the family support. You know, I always had my grandfather or my dad, somebody around to you know, take me to practice every day, and I'm thankful for the coaches that I had. Little League, you know, we were practicing probably at least 5 days a week. Like, those guys really put in the time for the kids to make us better, and there's still people I have relationships with today. Same thing with Babe Ruth. Great coach there, somebody that I still reach out to every now and then. And, you know, without my family, without them, I won't continue to be part of the game like I am today.
You were an understudy with Coach Schmalzy for a few years. You took over for him. Talk about that experience and what you learned from him as a coach.
Well, so I've been coaching high school baseball for like 21 years, and like 15 of those were with Schmalzy as his assistant. And I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to, you know, take over, you know, that role at Paupack. Todd's one of my best friends, mentor, learned a lot from him. Not so much, you know, the baseball standpoint, but how to deal with all the other things that go along with the coaching, and, you know, dealing with relationships with parents and
the fun stuff.
The fun stuff, the booster club, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, he really, at one point, this was probably like 10 years ago, like when I was, you know, maybe on the fence about continuing coaching. And I was like, I don't know if I'm, you know, ready or cut out to be a head coach. And he's like, you know, you can do it. You know, you have it in you if you want to do it. And, you know, that's something that sticks with me. And I'm certainly glad that I'm still going.
Mention your wife and your kids, and then your staff. We'll do each coach here.
All right. So my wife is Tristy, and I have 3 kids. The oldest is Amelia, who's 7. My middle guy, Michael, is 5 going on 6. And my youngest, Eric Jr., is 4. So it's been pretty hectic trying to juggle coaching baseball. And I live in Dunmore, coach and teach at Paupack, so I got a little bit of a commute. So hats off to my wife for getting the kids ready for school every day, running them around, and still letting me, you know, pursue my passion.
And your staff? Your guys on your staff?
My staff, Rich McGinnis is my assistant coach at the varsity level. I was fortunate enough to have Phil Babiak as a volunteer varsity assistant I thought, having him this year was a real game changer working with our infield. Rich did a phenomenal job with the pitching staff. And then my JV staff is Jeff Hupfer and John Utsonsky.
Brian, your wife and kids, and then your staff.
Yeah, my wife is Kristen, part-time scorekeeper. She did a couple games for us this year, so that kind of brought her into my world a little bit, which was great. And we're married 22 years, just a couple weeks ago. I have 3 daughters, twins, Ella and Olivia. They're both 19. Olivia is studying at Bloomsburg University, and Ella's out at Pittsburgh. And then 8th grade is my daughter, Bren. So you'll be doing highlights on her running track one of these days. But just proud as can be as a husband and a father there. As far as my staff, I have the man there is coached in Pesta. You're asking me 17 years. Wow. 58 years he's been coaching. So that's quite an accomplishment, and it seems like he's back for next year. I think he's got at least one more in him. So Coach Pest is my assistant. I brought Mike Swanch as a volunteer this year and Joel Rosenkrantz as varsity volunteers. My JV staff is made up of Anthony Duchnowski, and his dad, Papa Dutch, is one of his volunteers, along with Chris King and Chris Sacker, and Greg Arcuri handles my junior high with Jeffrey Atala Jr. So really helpful we have those type of guys around, and like I said, especially tip of the cap to Coach Pesta.
You wouldn't be allowed back home if you didn't mention your wife and your coaching staff.
Absolutely. My wife Megan is probably the only reason why I am coaching, because the year I got hired at West Scranton, I told her that travel season I was done coaching forever. And then 2 months later, I think the West Scranton job opened up, and I kind of snuck in the application last minute. And then it was right before the season started. I'll never forget. It was the Thursday before the season started. I get the call saying I got the job, and I sat there, and I'm like, now I have to go home and tell my wife. But she's a blessing for, being on board, and she's a Stern Valley View grad, everything like that. But I broke her. She walks around with West Scranton baseball stuff on and stuff like that. So that's awesome. We currently don't have any children at the time, but I always say I'm like a father to like 300 of them for all the kids that have come through the program.
Yes.
And my coaches are my assistant coach is I grew up when I played Teeter League ball with, is Eddie Bernicki, and my best friend Dave Lesh, who's has a son that's on the team. Billy Shane runs my JV program, and we have our director of baseball operation, my little brother, Matt Nitch, who does everything for us. He coaches JV with Billy. He'll keep the book varsity, running machines. Like I always say, I can't do my job without my little brother, because he's got the lineups taken care of for me when I walk in. It's just so nice to have somebody behind the scenes like that working for you. So, and for me, it was great. When I got the job, he used to announce the games. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm still announcing the games. I go, I don't know any of these coaches. You're coming down to coach. And he just looked at me like, and then, 9 years later, I got a very good baseball coach out of the deal. So I was blessed with that.
Well, you can see these guys certainly have, the baseball life and the family life really busy, obviously, from sun up to sundown. When we come back, we're going to get into some of the nuances, Major League Baseball, the ABS system, and the pitch clock, and see what these guys think. Next on the WNP Sports Spotlight. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight. We're going to talk a little Major League Baseball. Before we get into the teams, let's talk about some of the nuances, some of the new stuff from the Commissioner, Rob Manfred. Obviously, the ABS system seems to be working pretty well. And then the pitch clock, which is now, I believe, in year 2. Yeah. I know you don't get watch much baseball, Eric. You're busy with the kids and stuff like that. But when you watch the games, it's obviously the speed of the game has increased.
Yep.
And the challenges on some of the pitches now kind of go to the batter or the catcher, and they kind of instantaneously give the result, and it changes the count and changes the game a little bit. What do you think with the new stuff they've added in?
It's definitely interesting. I'm sure we would all agree we would love to have that at times at the high school level. But yeah, I mean, baseball has just been constantly evolving, and this kind of stuff is here to stay. So, I mean, there's all, the old school baseball players that don't like, some of this stuff. But I think it's good. I just hope it doesn't eventually wipe out umpires altogether. And then in terms of the pitch clock, I like the pitch clock just to push the pace of play, especially at the high school level. We're always telling our guys, like, get on the mound, get ready, throw strikes, keep the game moving, that kind of stuff. So I have no issue with, pitch clock or anything like that. I do have some issues with some of these questionable calls I see, like hitters getting with the pitch clock and stuff like that. But overall, it's here to stay, and who knows where it goes from here.
Brian, I think I noticed it way before Major League Baseball, the AAA, when they had it down here. And the first two things that stuck out, one, the managers aren't coming out and arguing anymore. That's
right.
over, which I kind of enjoyed that. I don't know about you guys arguing with the umpires. That doesn't really happen anymore on balls and strikes. And then you kind of turn away to maybe say hi to somebody. You're missing 2 or 3 pitches. I mean, that's how quick it is. I mean, I was on my camera. I couldn't turn away like you used to. There'd be more time in between pitches.
Yeah, the pitch clock, I think, like as you mentioned, we're in the second year. It's kind of seamless now. There's not a lot of discussion about anything with the pitch. Like, there's not a lot of violations. At least, games I watch, I don't see many violations. I think everyone just adapted to it.
Yes.
Which I think was the purpose, and it does. It speeds the game up, and that was kind of the complaint about the game is kind of slow, and the word they throw out is boring, which I don't think is the case as kind of a purist, but that did prevent some of that. I love the ABS challenge. I mean, it's kind of turns into like a game within the game where all of a sudden, like, this guy's challenge pitch and the whole stadium just locks into the big screen to see if that's, going to turn pink or whatever color it might be, whether it's a strike or not. So I'm a big fan of that. I like where it's at with 2. I think you start getting beyond that number. You allow more than 2 a game. I think it's going to, it can take a turn in the wrong direction. But I really like it. I think especially in a crucial spot, guy's human behind the plate. That umpire's human, where he's going to make a mistake, and if you could fix that, as I mentioned, a crucial spot, why not? Why not? So, actually, I'm a Phillies fan, and I had to watch that game last night with the Marlins, and a big pitch last night where the count went from, I think, 2-2 to 3-1. Duran threw a cutter, I think it was, and missed by that much, and the guy challenged it, and boom, it flipped the count, and they ended up Marlins ended up getting a hit after that, tying the game. So you could see, as mentioned, it could really change the game. It can turn a game upside down. So I like it. I'm all for the ABS challenge. Like I said, I'd probably keep it in the number where it's at now. That'd be the one thing I would make sure stays.
Brian, your thoughts?
Well, the pitch count there, the pitch clock for me never made sense. But I mean, I worked like a maniac anyway, so I would have threw 10 pitches in 30 seconds. But I always thought, that's just putting a little bit more nitpicking on. Even now, like, what could you throw over 3 times and that's it? Then it's an automatic balk. Like, sometimes it's nice to have the batter sweating it out a little bit, throwing over, playing with the runner a little bit. The mental part of the game. The ABS though, it's amazing though, like how detailed it is. Like, it comes down to like, a centimeter, like, oh, it's in the zone, it's out of the zone. To me, that's the most amazing part, like how good technology is and how much technology, like, I mean, a lot of people really don't know how much technology took over baseball, like behind the scenes with like the bats, the swinging, the what muscles you need, like everything like that. But it's just amazing. But I agree with like the other coaches, like just keep it limited. It can't be like every pitch, like how the NFL's gone to every turnover is reviewed, every touchdown's reviewed. Like that's gonna, I always thought the human element in baseball and the human error was part of the game. I'm as an official myself for wrestling. I'm gonna make mistakes, but that's something you gotta. It's also a part of it. Like when we coach our kids, we tell them the same thing. Like, don't put the game in the umpire's hands. Eventually you're responsible. But like I said, it's pretty neat. So as of right now, I'm still on the fence with it, but I'm leaning towards just, I think it's going to work out. But either way, it's here, so you're going to have to adjust to it.
We're heading to the best part of the baseball season, the playoffs, October baseball, the World Series, and then December 1st, the Owners and the Players Association contract is up. The more I keep reading about it, it seems like a lockout's coming. I read something last night where we're not even going to have a season next year. They seem very far apart. Where are you guys at with that? Hopefully they can kind of agree on some stuff and we can avoid not having baseball next year.
Yeah, I haven't honestly been paying a whole lot of attention to it. I know it's looming, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, we don't have a season next year, which is unfortunate because I think back to, when's the last time, like 94 or something like that. My boy Don Mattingly was primed to, maybe get his championship ring, and then, we got locked out. So I don't know. It's just going to be bad for the sport, obviously.
Hopefully Mattingly gets one this year with the Phils.
Yeah,
but,
I hope so.
Yeah, besides, I think, eons apart right now from everything I've read as well. Salary cap being one of the biggest issues in there. I know the talk about changing up the draft.
Yeah, they want to cut the rounds down.
They want to cut the rounds down, which now means kids are staying in college longer, which in turn means they're not starting their career. And all of a sudden, instead of getting that contract at 26 and you can get another one at 30, now you're getting that first big contract at 30, and that's probably the only one you're getting. So, there's a lot to unravel behind a lot of these decisions that are thrown out there, and it just hasn't been, hasn't been a lot of news out there. Hasn't been a lot of negotiating, at least out in the open, which that kind of scares you as a baseball fan a little bit, knowing what the alternative would be. The game really can't take. There's so many other options out there right now. So much for kids to see and do. When I was a kid, I'm sure these guys same way yourself, Steve. Summertime in baseball, couldn't wait for the All-Star game. Now there's a million other things, and you lose viewership. And you lose a generation with something like this, it could be detrimental to both parties involved.
And it already seems like it's potentially affecting some of the trades with the MLB trade deadline coming there with some of the moves. The owners have kind of already told some of the GMs, like, we might not have
makes sense.
Yeah,
you're looking at do we want to take this guy knowing there might not be a season next year? Where he's more than a 1-year rental, but he might not be now. Like, we might only get those two months out of him, and that's going to be it. So, it's been kind of a slow market with the trade deadline coming up, and a lot of times that'll be a flurry at the end. But I think you're right. I think a lot of that depends on where we're headed, and hopefully in the right direction.
Certainly something we don't want to see. We don't want to see the locks on the gates.
No, and to be honest with you, last time, when they went on strike and everything, the big thing that brought baseball back was Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa when they had that home run race. But times have changed. Those numbers have, that was the first time anyone was close probably since Maris and Ruth went after it. Now, you see, Bonds has hit 70, Judge hit 60, so, every year. So there's nothing really going to be special to really bring the viewership back. I think, we got lucky last time that there was that old record just sitting there waiting to be broken. But now it's guys are expected to hit 60 home runs in a season now. So, and that's what the viewers like to see. So it's going to be a tough recovery if that does happen.
Brian, we'll start with you. We'll go American League first. You got Tampa leading the East. Yankees are right there. Boston's making a push. In the Central, it's the White Sox and the Guardians, and then in the West, Texas, Seattle. Red Sox are hot right now.
Yeah, I'm a Mets fan, so there's one team that you just mentioned that I definitely won't put out there with being the Yankees, even though we do live in the minor league area. But I just was wired that way. You're a Mets fan, you can't root for the Yankees. I always like to see. Obviously, I know the Mets aren't going anywhere, but I always like to see teams get in it now at this point that haven't been in it in a while. I always like to root for the underdog. Last thing I want to see is LA win a third one. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind seeing a Tampa Bay get in there, Boston, which is, like you said, is hot. So
they talk about maybe Tampa trying to go get Skubal from the Tigers. That would maybe put them over the top.
Yeah, it's amazing what that organization does. Is amazing. They're not big spenders, but they develop players, and they're competitive every year. You throw a guy like Skubal in there, now you can match up with someone else's number one in a short series. You're going to see him, in a 7-game series. You might see him 3 times. Boy, that really helps you out. The team I'd watched, Cleveland. Cleveland, they might be a game or two back in the Central, and it's great to see the White Sox turn around. The White Sox have had this year, I think, is really phenomenal from where they were. I mean, 2 years ago they lost. Was that the record most losses in a year? I think that was 2 years ago. So they're a young team. They're an exciting team. But Cleveland's the one team I'd watch. I don't think there's much in the West, and the Yankees are the Yankees. You know, they're going to come playoff time. They're going to find ways to win games as well. But, Cleveland would be the team I'd watch in the American League.
Eric, for you, American League, and then we'll switch to the National League.
American League, I'm a Yankees fan. Hopefully they can get something done. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Boone. I wish they would have, either kept Girardi or even gave Mattingly his shot with the Yankees. So I don't know. I don't know if the Yankees have enough to get it done, but we'll hope.
All right, let's roll over to the National League. The Resurgent Braves. Phillies got close, and they've kind of, fallen back here a little bit. We're not going to talk about Coach Minnick's Mets. Brewers are tough in the Central, and then obviously out west, the Dodgers are there. Who knows if they get Scooble? I read that the other day, but that seems like the National League playoffs are going to be pretty electric.
Yeah, you're looking at there's some heavy hitters there. That group you just rattled off, Cubs as well.
Cubs right on.
They're right in there as well. And I'll tell you a team that if they get in could be a problem, especially in an early round, the Pirates. You get the Pirates in with that staff in a short series, that could be a problem. That's going to be exciting. Obviously, Dodgers are your two-time defending champs. So, to be the man, you got to beat the man. There's a wrestling.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Now, if a Mets player goes to the Yankees, do you root for that player, or you're done with them?
He's done with it.
Okay. So if Lindor goes to the Yankees,
Yeah, he's done.
done. Okay. Gotcha. So who do you like in the National League?
I hate to say it, but I don't want it to happen. But the Dodgers are
Dodgers again?
Yeah, they're the team to beat.
Yeah. Eric?
I'm hoping for anybody but the Dodgers. I would like to see Philly kind of break through. They always get there, and then they don't get it done in the playoffs. I'm a Bryce Harper fan. I wish the Yankees would have got him when they had the chance. But so I'm going to root for the hometown Phillies.
Yeah, I think as we roll here into August and then September, October, Major League Baseball playoffs, World Series, you got high school football, and then we got college football starting up, whether you're a Notre Dame fan, whether you're a fan of the Big Ten, whether you're a Penn State fan. It's certainly going to be a crazy rest of the summer and an outstanding fall. Guys, I appreciate your time and coming in here. Good luck in 2027 and everything else that you guys do for the community and for the school districts. We appreciate your guys' time and effort in helping these kids get an education and graduating and go on and doing whatever they do in life. But I appreciate you guys coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Yes.
All right. That's it for the WNEP Sports Spotlight. Little high school baseball here tonight. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.